My grandfather abused me every summer and my extended family acted like nothing was wrong. I was 7 the first summer it happened at my grandfather's lake house in northern Michigan. My parents sent me there every June through August because they both worked demanding jobs, and my grandfather had retired with nothing but time and a sprawling property on the water. The house was old and beautiful with creaking floorboards and windows that overlooked the lake where my cousins and I would spend hours swimming and building forts in the woods. Everyone loved going to Grandpa Roy's place. He was the patriarch of our family, respected and adored by everyone. He told stories, taught us to fish, made us feel special. But at night when everyone else was asleep, he would come into the room where I stayed alone and do things that made my stomach hurt and my skin crawl. The first time, I didn't understand what was happening. I woke up to his hand over my mouth and his whispered voice telling me to be quiet, that this was our special secret. I was confused and scared, but he was my grandfather, and I'd been taught to respect adults and do what they said. He told me this was how grandfathers showed love to their special grandchildren, that I should feel honored. He chose me. When it was over, he reminded me again that this was our secret, and that if I told anyone, they wouldn't believe me, because I was just a kid, and he was Grandpa Roy who everyone loved. Then he left, and I lay there in the dark, feeling wrong in ways I couldn't name. It happened 3 more times that summer. Each time he would wait until the house was silent and everyone asleep before coming to my room. He'd lock the door quietly, and I'd pretend to be asleep, hoping he'd leave me alone, but he never did. During the day, everything was normal. He'd ruffle my hair at breakfast and take me fishing and act like nothing had happened. My cousins thought I was lucky to get so much one-on-one attention from Grandpa Roy. My parents would call and ask if I was having fun, and I'd say yes, because I didn't know how to explain what was happening, and because Grandpa Roy's warning echoed in my head. Nobody would believe me. He was right about that. When my parents picked me up at the end of August, my mom commented that I seemed quiet. I almost told her then. The words were right there, ready to spill out, but Grandpa Roy was standing on the porch waving goodbye with that warm smile everyone loved, and I couldn't make the words come. My mom attributed my silence to being sad about leaving and said we'd come back next summer. The thought made me feel sick, but I nodded because that's what good kids did. The school year passed, and I tried to forget about those nights. I threw myself into 2nd grade, made friends, played soccer, but as May approached and my parents started talking about summer plans, the dread returned. I begged to stay home that second summer. I made up excuses about wanting to go to day camp with my friends or saying I was too old for the lake house. My parents dismissed every objection, saying Grandpa Roy was getting older and cherished this time with his grandchildren. My dad said I was being selfish not to want to spend time with my grandfather who loved me so much. That word, love, made my skin crawl, but I couldn't explain why. So in June, I was driven back to northern Michigan for another summer. This time, I knew what was coming, and the anticipation was almost worse than the actual abuse. I tried to never be alone, to always stay with my cousins, but Grandpa Roy was patient and clever. He'd volunteer to put me to bed early when I looked tired or suggest I help him with chores that separated me from the others. The abuse that second summer was worse because I understood what was happening now. I wasn't confused anymore. I was terrified and ashamed and angry. I started wetting the bed, something I hadn't done since I was 4. My aunt noticed and mentioned it to Grandpa Roy, who acted concerned and said he'd handle it. That night when he came to my room, he told me the bedwetting was my fault for being weak, and that if I told anyone what we did, they'd think I was disturbed and send me away. He said mental hospitals were terrible places where kids who told lies about their families ended up. I believed him because I was 8 years old, and he was the adult everyone trusted. My cousin Jordan was there that summer too. He was a year older than me, and we'd always been close. One afternoon while we were fishing, I almost told him. I opened my mouth to say something about how Grandpa Roy made me uncomfortable, but Jordan started talking about how cool it was that Grandpa took such special interest in me, that he wished Grandpa would spend more one-on-one time with him too. The words died in my throat. If I told Jordan the truth, would he even believe me? Or would he tell Grandpa Roy and make everything worse? I kept quiet and cast my line back into the water, watching the ripples spread and disappear. By the time I was 10, the summer trips to Michigan had become a pattern I felt trapped in. 3 months every year of abuse that nobody acknowledged or apparently noticed. I'd become good at dissociating during the actual abuse, letting my mind go somewhere else while it was happening. But I couldn't escape the anxiety that built throughout each day, knowing night would come. I started having panic attacks, though I didn't know that's what they were. My chest would get tight and I couldn't breathe and the world would spin. My aunt saw me having one by the lake and asked if I was okay. I nodded and said I was just scared of deep water. She believed me because believing me was easier than asking harder questions. But that same summer, I started noticing things I'd been too young to see before. Full story is linked below or on my channel.